Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Awesome. So, obviously, energy shots, so we have to get a little energized here, okay? I'm Chelsea, and I am the Director of Business Intelligence and Category Management. Try putting that all on one card. It's pretty impossible. So we nicknamed it BICAT for 5-Hour Energy. Anyone drink 5-Hour Energy in the crowds? Thank you for your support. There's actually some up here. I know it's right after lunch, so feel free and come grab some bottles. But this is streamlining data for sales, interactive visualized insights for varying skill sets. So 5-Hour is about a $1 billion brand. We've been around since 2004. I'm going to take you through a little history so you better understand our history, where we're coming from, and then kind of the challenge that we had when it came to data. So it is kind of ironic that I'm here in this time slot of 2:30. And if you guys remember these commercials, you know why.
You know what 2:30 in the afternoon feels like, right? Sleepy? Groggy? Dying for a nap? What do? Run for the coffee? Grab a soda? But how long does that last before you're back for more? Try this instead. Take one 5-Hour Energy, then see what the rest of your day feels like. Sure won't feel like 2:30 anymore. Or 3:30. Or 4:30. 5-Hour Energy. Hours of energy now, no 2:30 feeling later.
So if you have that 2:30 feeling, I've got you covered. So let's talk a little bit about 5-Hour, our history, kind of where we are now. So in 2004, we're founded by Manoj Bhargava. We always call him Bhaganavana because it's a challenge to say. It's Bhargava. And he is an inventor by trade. And he comes up with this energy shot that provides you a no-crash feeling. It's 0 calories. It's no sugar. And we start just in convenience stores. We have people actually selling product out of the back of their cars. We can't make it fast enough, right? In 2006, we go into FDM, which in my trade is food, drug, mass. I saw that there were a lot of people kind of from insurance and cars and banking, so we're going to talk a lot about retail, which will be kind of scary and exciting for you guys. In 2011, we actually hit the $1 billion mark in annual sales. In 2012, we own 90% of the energy shot market. That is something that we still hold 10 years later, which is great. In 2013, Manoj actually commits 90% of his earnings to charity. So he becomes kind of along with the Warren Buffett theory of donating the majority of your profit. And he uses that money really to drive initiatives for hydration in India. He's working on some other really cool projects for the FDA. So he's very diversified, but it's all very much philanthropic. And then in 2015 is when he actually finds billions for change. And that's where he's doing those useful inventions, especially when it comes to India, his home country. In 2020, we actually launched an energy drink, which I don't know if you guys have seen it in this market yet. Michigan was one of our test markets, because I don't know if you guys know, but we're actually located right up in Farmington Hills, where that's where we're headquartered, so we're not too far away from y'all. And we're actually made in Wabash, Indiana, so we're a Midwest brand. But we launched a new energy drink to go after the Red Bull and the Monsters of the world, who obviously promote energy, but we're kind of the name of the game when it comes to energy shots. We continue to be the innovation leader. We're 90% share, like I said, and we're actually right now 99% of all category growth in energy shots. So of that, the organization started getting a little more data savvy and decided that they wanted to take their insights further. So this is kind of the timeline of when we launched our products. So you can see we started with regular strength berry in 2004. We started our extra strength line in 2008. That's where the majority of our sales come from. And then over here in 2021, we launched an energy drink, which is a totally different category, completely different line extension, right? Here's the challenge. We built our data infrastructure around 2008, 2009, and never updated it. So we didn't see things coming like the can, which you, right now with shots, you directly ship them, right, to the stores and they load it. With canned products, they have to go through a process which is called DSD, direct store delivery, where warehousers actually go and deliver the product on behalf of the company. There's a middle kind of conduit where you have that challenge of not being able to direct ship to somewhere. These are things that we didn't see coming on the horizon when we built this infrastructure back in the early 2000s. And so that obviously provided us a lot of challenges. So they bring my team on board. And originally, I was just hired as the director of category management. And for those of you who aren't familiar, category management is actually the studying of consumer behaviorism. So we study how you shop, and then we use that psychology against you to get you to shop how we want you to shop, right? So everything in a grocery store, down to the music that you hear, the temperature, the color schemes, everything is a psychological purpose. We know the way you scan a shelf, it's in a Z pattern. We know that based on your height, where you're going to go first. We know how long you glance at a product before you actually buy it, right? So really cool insights when it comes to category management. And it's all consumer facing. So we help retailers understand how to optimize their category and maximize the customer experience to grow more sales, which they win, we win, everybody wins. However, when I started digging in, it was kind of obvious that we also needed a refresh of our BI platforms. Like I said, early 2000s is when we built our ERP, and it was struggling to keep up with what we wanted to do with our business. Oh, and just as a shameless plug, I am hiring a business intelligence manager or analyst. Once again, we're in Farmington Hills, so if you're interested, come find me. So my team really set out 2 key goals for 2022. The first one was to implement a holistic BI tool. And when I say holistic, I'm talking about every facet of data that we can get for our company. As you'll see in a minute, it's incredibly fragmented right now, and it was a major undertaking to align all that. The second one is to declare turf war on the front end space, which we call the impulse category. 5 Hour Energy are shots. Our singles do the majority of our business, and we're 65% in convenience stores is where the majority of our volume comes from, right? That space is very expensive, but it's also very crowded, and it continues to get more crowded as we see a lot more items come to market, which need to be kind of towards the front end to make sure that they don't get stolen. So it's a constant battle and a constant war for who's gonna get your space. We're gonna focus on the BI tool first, though. So we're gonna evolve or dissolve, right? And usually it's evolve or die, but that just seemed a little harsh, so I softened it up a little bit. But CPG, consumer product goods, which is what we are, has rapidly changed in 20 years when it comes to data. I'm gonna walk you through. So when we first built our ERP, when we first built our BI tools, we really had 4 inputs. So we've got retailer rebates, which means that if we give a deal to a retailer to sell XYZ, on promotion, we refund them a portion of that sales. We have shipments that are direct and indirect. So direct, we ship directly to the Walmarts of the world, the Sam's Clubs of the world. Indirects, we ship to a wholesaler, like a Kahee, if you've ever heard of that, or McLean, and then they ship to retailers, smaller retailers. And then we have syndicated sales, IRI and Nielsen. At this time, we also have Walmart data, Retail Link. It was in its infancy stage, and it was just basic EDI. So, and we also have panel data, which back in this day, people would have to take a scanner, plug it into the wall, and essentially scan every single thing that they bought. So we could get some kind of consumer insights, because that was still very much in its infancy stage as well. So for our purposes of when we actually built our ERP, it made sense. We only have these 4 data points. Life is good. We see what we're shipping. We see what we sell. Now, unfortunately, as you can tell, there's no native connection between any of these, though. So I can see what I shipped, and I can see what I sold, but I can't see what I shipped to Walmart and what they sold through automatically. There's no native connection. So then we move 10 years. And this is when things really start ramping up in CPG. We still have our retailer rebates, our direct ships, indirect ships, our syndicate, and now we have consumer loyalty data. So every time you scan a Kroger Plus card, a Giant Eagle card, a Speedy Rewards card, all that information is tracked, right? You get deals, we get to learn about you. We know how old you are, we know that what your life cycle is, we know all of this information, right? Once again, the challenge is there's a little bit of a connection between syndicated sales and customer loyalty. Kind of. It's really challenging to connect the data, but there's a little bit of a connection. But once again, we're adding more data points with no native connections. We also have Walmart Retail Link. We see Kroger come on board with Market 6, which is their store scan data. We see Dollar Channel, so we have Dollar General and Family Dollar both using a platform called 1010. And then, of course, panel data, which now they've upgraded the scanners to you don't have to plug them into the wall anymore. So once again, our challenge is there's no unique identifiers linking all of this data. From a BI solution, we actually implemented a tool called Tabs during this time, and it's really nothing more than a glorified Power Pivot. So still very rudimentary. We're still just getting, the only thing that's feeding Tabs is that syndicated data from Nielsen. So we're still just getting a portion of the business, right? And then it's really interesting, during this time, Walmart starts playing with RFID. Does anyone know RFID tags? Awesome. So yeah, basically, Walmart starts attaching RFID tags to cases. So we know when it leaves a Walmart distribution center, when it comes through the back door, when it comes from the back door onto the floor, and when it gets put on the floor. And this is really important when we start talking about speed to shelf and how fast you're getting your products to the shelf, trying to minimize out of stocks. Walmart, even though we're in this big labor shortage crisis right now, Walmart has always had challenges with labor. It goes back tens of years, probably since the beginning when Sam Walton created his Walton's 5 and Dime, right? So they've always been a low-cost retailer, and because of that, their labor has always been a challenge for them. So the more they automate, they add AI, it gets a little bit better, but they're still not there yet. So we start mining that customer loyalty data. Like I said, we use that against you to get you to buy more. And then we move 10 years down the road. So you can start seeing right now how the ERP that we designed isn't really set up to handle the customer loyalty and the additional portals that we have, right? Well, now we've got all kinds of data, right? So we've got customer loyalty. On top of that, we're going to add custom research because now retailers are really sophisticated. Walmart can tell you almost instantaneously when something is scanned. I see it on a computer. Something scans through the register, and you see it. So it's almost real-time data that we're actually seeing these purchases come through. Kroger, same way. I have a full 360-degree holistic picture of all the Kroger brands, right? I can see if you're at a Ralph's out in California, and then for some reason you were on vacation, and that's why you were out there. I can see what you bought your family. Based on what you buy, I know how many kids you have. It's kind of crazy from a data perspective. But once again, we've added yet another layer of complexity where we have all this custom research. Ask Suzy is a great tool that gives you access to an online instant panel. So if you have any questions that you need to put out to customers, you can ask them instantaneously. We also do a lot of traffic analysis. So one of the biggest challenges, as you guys know, as I spent $120 to fill up my car on the way here from Columbus, obviously gas is very expensive right now. And so being a convenience-driven brand, what we saw last Memorial Day is that 30% of people who filled up in gas also went in the store and purchased something. They're estimating right now, the numbers are still coming in, but they're estimating that that's fallen by half because of the price concerns that the customer has, as far as really putting things that they used to think were more needed commodities into a discretionary category, and only 15% of those pumps are being converted to in-store. So it's continually a big challenge. But now retailers are saying, give us all this custom data. What's your decision tree? Decision tree helps us understand the consideration set when you buy something. So you guys might not be cognizant of this because no one really thinks about shopping unless you're me. But essentially, when you go to purchase something, you already have a consideration set of brands in your head. And it might be flavor, it might be brand name, it might be price, it might be size, but essentially every customer has this consideration set, and ironically, we all practically think the same way. So when you go to buy alcohol, which is what the majority of my career has been in, okay, I'm going to have a party. Usually your party spirits, vodka, tequila, and rum, right? So now I know I'm doing vodka. I want to spend about $20. I'm going to go for Kettle One. And that's how we track you from a consumer decision tree perspective. That really helps when we actually do assortment for at the store level. So there's a lot of psychology about why everything is placed in the store. And we are the reason why your stores get shuffled around so much. So please don't hate us. So there's more. We have all this complexity, right, that we've already added in these 2020s. And then 5 Hour decides to do some really cool, innovative things. So now we add the CAN, as I talked about, and now we have direct store distributor DSD data, which is another tool called VIP. We also have now put a street team on the street to go after independent convenience. Right now they're like 100 strong, and they're hitting up to 11,000 stores. And they're going in and they're selling data. They're selling our product, they're merchandising, and then they're reporting back to us what they've done, things that they've learned while they're at the store, what's going on with competition, and that's all coming through a tool. We also bought data to validate that they're doing what they say, which is MSA, which is depletion data. So we can see what wholesalers, indirect wholesalers, are shipping to stores. And then we can use that to validate if someone in the field said that they actually added a product, then we can use the MSA data to validate, yes, they did add that product was delivered XYZ. The challenge, as you can see, no native integration. So we don't have any unique IDs to combine that data right now. And then we also started another product called Retailer Rewards. So Retailer Rewards is for independent convenience stores. They sign up, we send them newsletters, we send them swag, we kind of educate them on programs that they should be running. So if you're an accounting person, we now have 39 total data connections to see our entire brand, right? And only 35% of them can be auto-connected. Oh no. So we decide to launch a BI tool. Tabs isn't working for us anymore. We go and we actually gather the requirements, look at everything that we're doing from a BI perspective and what we want to do. My initial first love is Tableau. Visualize-wise, you can't get any better, right? I mean, it's just a very visual, appealing platform. Challenge being, our organization, as you saw, is very flat. We do not have the IT bandwidth to handle the back end. Also, during this whole discovery process, I find out that even though that we have been in business since 2004, we don't have a data warehouse yet, which obviously is a big miss, right? We have a ton of data coming in. We need to make sure that it's protected, especially if we change providers, because then that data is lost to us. So that becomes a mission critical number one, right? Spin up the DW with Azure. So we look at Tableau, we look at clicks, which I know they're here, sorry. And we look at Power BI. MicroStrategy makes the most sense for us because we have some people on the sales force who have used it, they're comfortable with it, and they give us a lot of support in the back end, which we desperately need. Then we go through a process of linking all data sources with unique IDs. This process takes 4 months, and it's manual. So we bring people on who are actually manually scanning UPCs off of cases. Some UPCs are truncated, some aren't. There's a SCC, which is a shipping carton, and a UPC, which is actually on a product. And you have to make sure you're getting the right one. You have to make sure that it's same throughout the whole entire network. So that was an extremely long process, unfortunately, that we went through. But then all of our data is now integrated and connected. And then we need an ETL tool. And we went with Alteryx, mainly for the perspective of it was the most easiest user interface for people who were not that BI strong for us. So our first thing was our shipping report. As you saw, we have indirect and direct shipping. The way that we were showing our sales team our shipping report were 17 pivot tables because they're not that pivot table strong, which they'll admit to your face. But essentially, we had 17 different tabs with pivot tables, and it's this data that you see right here, all manually completed by one person. One person actually knows how to extract the data and put it in all these pivots. So, obviously, we had a big material weakness there. Should she get hit by a bus or win the lottery, then that knowledge was lost. After working with MicroStrategy, connecting all of that data, we went from this. That went a lot faster in my head, I promise. It's like, okay, yes. So this is our new shipping report. It's very sleek, very user-friendly. So in here, I instantaneously get an idea of what's happening month over month with my shipping. We can also toggle between dawdlers and total bottles. Down here, I can very quickly can see my top 20 accounts and see what they're doing. Are they down? Are they up? How is that affecting my business? We can also see by flavor. So one of our most flavors right now is Tropical Burst. It's growing significantly month over month and year over year for us. It's actually driving all the energy shot category growth. And that's something that we're watching very closely because we only have 40% ACV on that, which means that we still have 60% of stores in America where we can get that into. So we want to see, are these stores ordering our priority products? Are they not ordering? Is there something going on where loads are getting rejected, which was happening a lot during the pandemic, which was why you guys couldn't get toilet paper. And then we also have by flavor, brand, pack type. So there's a bunch of ways you can easily splice this data. You can export it to PDF. You can export it to PowerPoint. You can set this up so it automatically cans and sends it to you on refresh. The sales, if you were to click on that, actually combines those two data points, right? So now I can see if I have shipment data and I have sales data, what sell-through is, how often we're turning inventory. We can see if we have anything lagging. We can see if we have any product out of stocks that way. So it's become 100% more effective, and the ROI on this that we estimated was somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000. Now the fun stuff. So as you remember, we had two different objectives that we were aligning on. The last one is declare turf war on the front end impulse space. Okay, so question for you guys. When you think of a front end at a convenience store or a gas station or a grocery channel, what products do you think of? Candy, absolutely. What else? Yes, that's a very good one. Energy drinks, energy shots. Anything else? Chips, salty snacks, huge seller at the front end. Gum, water, batteries, tobacco, very good. You guys pretty much nailed all of them. Yes, trash magazines, absolutely. So you look here, and these are pretty much some of the consistent items that you see on the front end in the impulse section across channels. Of course, I had to put 5 hour first, they pay me, right? We have gum, candy, mints is another one, water, HBC, which is health and beauty care, so you always have chapstick at the front end, batteries, obviously cigarettes, and then you always have meat treats, which is what they call them, which I always think that's a weird name, and then lighters. Now, the interesting thing is that a lot of big companies play at the front end, right? We've got Hershey's, we've got Mars Candy, you've got Wrigley, you've got really big Pepsi's up there. You have really big companies playing in this section. However, Syndicate is smart, and Syndicate knows that they can get as much money out of the view as they want with data. So what do? They actually say, we don't have an impulse category you can buy. You have to buy all of these categories separately. So to look at the front end, this would easily be $500,000 to $1 million data spend, just to look at the front end. And honestly, that's probably 2 or 3 channels. Overall, you're probably looking at $2 to $3 million. Obviously, for a brand our size, that doesn't make sense. For a brand like Procter & Gamble, who spends $1.9 billion on R&D a year, okay, that's a drop in the bucket. But for us, that's material. So we start looking at options, and we're trying to figure out how we can garner these insights that are really next level on the front ends and help our customers, being retailers, understand how they can better merchandise this for profit. We did a study back in 2018 where we surveyed 2 retail convenience stores and 1 drugstore, took everything on the front end, found out their profitability, and then calculated it per linear inch, in which showed that by far and large, 5 hour is the most profitable per linear inch on the front end. However, being that was 2018, Data has changed and migrated since then. That is very antiquated, right? Because COVID has changed shopping behaviors beyond from what we can even understand right now. And honestly, those shopping behaviors are continuing past these COVID bubbles. More people are continuing to do click and pick up. More people are shopping at home, which if you shop at home or shop online, you usually don't remember to buy these impulse things. It's one of those things where it has to be in front of your face, and then you're like, oh, I could use this, I could use gum, whatever. But if you're doing it online, we've seen that impulse maybe gets to 5%, maybe, of sales, because it's just not top of mind. In order to be top of mind in this category, you have to be in front of people. So I find this company that Rajiv Sharma started. It's called Video Mining. Firstly, though, before we go to this next slide, does anyone have any concern about Big Brother watching you and tech, anything like this? Because this will not make you feel better. Sorry. Because we are watching you. Rajiv Sharma starts a company called Video Mining, and he connects with several retailers on their CCTV to watch you all shop, right? It gets really creepy, doesn't it? But they're calculating over 1.5 billion shopping trips in convenience and FDMC combined. So this tool, which is proprietary, he's got 60 patents on it. It identifies you as soon as you come into a store. It knows if you're male or female. It estimates your age. It sees if you have any children with you, so it can determine what life cycle you're in. It then assigns you a number, and it watches you go through a store, right? So you see this kind of heat map pattern thing here? And these are actually wait times. So we're seeing how long you're stopping in a section to buy something. We're seeing what path you're taking through the store. So this area right here is called the racetrack. You can see why it's so red, because that's why, dairy, bread, things like that are always on the racetrack to pull you through the store so you buy more. And we're watching you as you go through the store. So you can see these lines here. That's a female, that's a male. Here's the wait times and how these people are moving through the frozen food section. And, this is information we can't get from sales alone, right? I can't tell you by your loyalty card data or a retailer data how long you spent glancing at my product before you put it on the counter. I can't tell you if you glanced and put it down or if you glanced and bought it. I can't tell you if you treat self-check different than you treat express check versus man check. Anyone here absolutely hate self-checkout? You guys love it as tech people? Kind of, just so-so? It's one of those things, right? If you have 20 items or less, okay, but anything over that, it's right, totally get that. So video mining is a fantastic tool to use, and he actually puts out a nugget, I think every week, to give different insights on the consumer behavior from the data that he's seeing. So we partner with Video Mining. We're getting information for convenience and FDM, which, if you remember, the study we did back in 2018 was just drug and convenience, right? And that was 2 stores, 3 stores. This is 1.5 billion shopping trips, right? Pretty statistical sample compared to 3. And the information that we're getting from this tool is really cool because they also send me highlight reels. So now I can sit in front of Target, Walmart, Kroger, and say, don't take my word for it, the old reading rainbow. Look at how your shopper shops. Watch them pick this up and walk by. Watch them do this. This is a pattern, right? And we're using that AI to train the customer now, okay, maybe I do need to give more space to this. Maybe I need to realize that I do need more profit in this segment. So this really is helping us fight for our space and get additional space on the front end counter, which is huge for us because that's our bread and butter. And we estimated the ROI of this of being at $3,900, which is crazy, right? Very, very, and this spend is a fraction of that $500,000 spend that we would have looked at by buying the front end data. Alrighty. So that's just some updates of what we're doing from a 5-hour energy perspective. Does anyone have any questions about how you shop or any creepy facts I know about how you shop?
I was just wondering if you guys do anything with loss prevention. I've noticed that 5-hour energy at gas stations and so forth now sitting behind the counter and at Walmart, they're lock and key. If that's been impacting your business.
It has been a huge impact in our business. And his question was about loss prevention, for those of you who couldn't hear. Especially in Dollar Channel. Dollar Channel is notorious for being thieved. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, clientele is a little more low income. Secondly, word has gotten out on the street that Dollar General and Dollar Tree have a no chase policy. So you can literally go in Dollar Tree, please don't, but you can go into Dollar Tree and Dollar General, fill out a buggy, walk out. They're not going to chase you. So that starts circulating. Shrink has been estimated in the Dollar Channel of anywhere between 13 to 15%, which is crazy. And our challenge is, look at our bottle, right? It's very, very small, very easy to put in your pocket. Weirdly enough, when I was in liquor, I actually caught somebody selling a half-gallon or stealing 2 half-gallons of Grey Goose, which, if you can imagine, they're about yay tall. He had made special pants with slits in them, and he slipped them down his pants and walked out. We heard him clinking, and I'm like, well, points for ingenuity, right? But yeah, shrink continues to be a problem, and we're actually looking at options right now with the racks, because usually we're on a rack at the front end, to make it an anti-theft rack. You can see stores like Walmart going lock and key, where you see like at lockbox and it'll say ask at the front end. That absolutely kills a shopping experience. More than likely, nobody will ask if you're at the front end. They'll just assume you're out of stock and move on. So theft continues to be a big challenge for us. There's no great solve for it. So we're still trying to figure out the optimal way of minimizing shrink, but also not killing the shopper experience. Anyone else have any questions? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the main demographic of 5 Hour is about a 45-year-old male. We name him Mike. Mike has a wife. They've been married for a while. He has 2 teenage kids. He's in a middle management job, kind of blue collar, white collar. And he usually takes 5 Hour energy because he's tired. He's got to go home from work and take his kids to baseball, and he doesn't have the energy to get through it. And he also ate a bunch of carbs for lunch, so he's going to take one of these and go. So that's who our true customer is, and we found that out through a couple of sources. Number one, in panel data, right? So we see who scans product. There's a syndicated base of panel, and essentially, it's really cool now because they could just upload a receipt. They used to have to actually scan every single thing, but we can see who's shopping us. Now, the interesting thing is your shopper is not always your consumer, and think about that. How many times have you gone shopping for a loved one or someone else, and you're buying things that you wouldn't buy for yourself, right? So that's where loyalty card data becomes really challenging. So that's where video mining comes in, because now I can see that 45-year-old middle-aged white man actually buying my product over and over and over again. And I say, okay, there's a pattern here, and that's Mike. So we use that demographic information for a couple of reasons. Number one, being that you guys now know that that is our customer, does it make sense for us to dump a bunch of money in TikTok? No, absolutely not. Who here watches ESPN? How many times have you seen a 5 Hour commercial? It's every 2 minutes, I swear. Even I get tired of it, and I work for the company. But yeah, that's our customer, right? So you'll see us a lot during tournaments on ESPN. We are on YouTube a lot. A lot of that age group, Gen X, loves YouTube. So we capture them there as well. So we make sure that, number one, we're in the places where they want to shop, right? Hunt where the bears are. And then the second thing that we do then is make sure that the spins that we're making, the data that we're targeting, how we're actually creating our brand positioning and message will go to that customer and make sense. Interestingly enough, we have some data that shows that we did not get the millennial customer. Who's a millennial in here? Yes, my people. So we did not get the millennial customer. In 2012, the Wall Street Journal wrote an article essentially saying that energy drinks and energy shots will kill you. Great journalism. It's not accurate. Anything in not moderation will probably kill you. So Luckily, we have doctors behind our brand who have said, no, it will not kill you. It's actually the same amount of caffeine as a tall Starbucks macchiato. So, but the millennials, very health conscious cohort, we lost them. So now we have to try to figure out how to go after Gen Z. And what is the one thing Gen Z loves to do? Anyone know? Stay up all night and game. They're huge gamers. So now, because we see this little bit of a cohort with Gen Z starting to take our product, maybe TikTok doesn't make sense, but Twitch does, right? Because guess what? If I do one of these instead of drink a 16-ounce Monster, I don't have to pee as much. So I can continue Call of Duty or whatever the kids are playing these days. I don't even know. I stopped around in 64 personally. But yeah, that's a great question. Demographics absolutely change the entire way we do our brand positioning. Anyone else have questions? Yeah.
What percent of your customers do you know through credit card loyalty versus?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the ratio between cash, because once again, we're a hugely independent convenience brand, right? It was a ratio of 50-50, and then the coin shortage started around the pandemic, and we saw that credit card number start creeping up. And now we're at a 75-25 split of credit versus cash. Walmart is starting to do something, and it's very much in the beta phase, because Walmart doesn't have a loyalty card, as you know, which is such a big miss, and nobody can figure out why, but there's probably a method to their madness. But they're actually tracking credit card information. So they have linked up with, I think, Visa and MasterCard, where they can say, okay, this person, by everything they purchase, right, not just at Walmart, is probably XYZ in this life cycle. So let's say that they are what we call comfortably country. So kind of rural, kind of suburban, middle age, that's how they shop. And they can target then ads to those people based on their credit cards. The challenge is it kind of gets icky when we talk about privacy laws and all kinds of things with data. So it's still in the beta phase. They really should just get consumer loyalty, but they don't. But yeah, it's definitely changing. We're seeing a lot more card versus cash. Anyone else? Yeah. We sure do. So one of our challenges is when we came out in 2004, we grabbed a customer, and that was Mike. Well, now Mike, 2004, that's almost 20 years ago. Now Mike is 65. He doesn't need energy anymore because he's retiring. He's in a different stage of life. So he's just going to drink his coffee in the morning. He's not going to take 5 hour. And as I told you guys, we lost the millennial. So now we use the predictive analytics of, okay, how do we get Gen Z? Is there a certain cohort we should go after? Is there a certain area we should go after? The heartland. We drink a lot of caffeine in the heartland. Actually, more than both coasts, if you wanted to know. So absolutely, there's a lot of predictive analytics of what's big next, especially when it comes to flavor trends. So Gen Z is really wonky. They are not a brand loyal cohort. They'll try anything. And that's not what we're used to. I mean, if you think about your parents or boomers, how many people grew up eating one brand of ketchup and one toilet paper their entire life because that's just what we did, right? Gen Z is not like that. They'll find what's cheapest, they'll find what's new, what makes an impression. They're all about the experience. And so we have some listening features that actually go on social media, come up with some predictive words to see, okay, what's trending? We're seeing a lot of people talk about tropical. We launched Tropical Burst. Our next flavor that's coming out, Hawaiian Breeze. So that's how we're using kind of that predictive with demographic, is a lot of social media listening. Awesome, I think I'm out of time. Okay, thank you all so much for sticking with me. Please, please, please take some 5 hour. And I appreciate you all so much.